A reporter joining us on a story we were just talking about moments ago. Reporter J.D. Conte, he's there just outside of the courtroom where Jammie Maze, he is a former coach who is currently facing a trial due to several. I won't get into the details. I'll leave it to JD to really dive into it all. JD, what can you tell us right now? We do know that deliberations began, what was it, around 10:45 this morning?
hmm Yeah, Hannah, we're going just about over 2 hours here and just outside the Henderson County Courthouse. Jurors still going on. I just saw them bring in their lunch, so they're still going right now. And this is the case of Jammie Maze, like you said. He's the former athletic director at LaPoynor ISD. And this is an interesting case in terms of the charges. Let me break them down for you. They're both tampering with evidence charges, and this is what prosecutors allege happened in this case. The
Gotcha.
girls came back from practice one day. They came into the locker room, and they found a shoe with a phone inside of it pointed up, and it was recording. And they turned this phone over to their coach, and that's coach's Jammie Maze. And what he does next is allegedly is he goes ahead and deletes the video that was recording. Now he told them that he deletes this video for their protection. Obviously, you're recording something like that. You don't want that to be anywhere. Prosecutors are saying that's because you were the one doing the recording. So now the defense is saying, well, he was doing that because he was protecting himself, and he was not protecting himself but protecting all of those girls. Prosecutors obviously turned that argument on its head. So that's the first tampering charge in this case. So it kind of points the two sides against each other. The second charge is tampering with evidence, and that comes from the phone again in this case. Now, what prosecutors are alleging is that several days later, he actually came into the LaPoynor ISD administration building and broke in late at night. Now, this is based off surveillance video. Now, during their closing arguments, the defense called this surveillance video, and I quote, Sasquatch footage. They called it low quality footage. But basically, the prosecution's argument was, who else is going to do this? There's four people that know where this phone is at this moment. And so who else is going to go ahead and do this? And there's also a lot of conversation that's happened in this trial, and that's what the jury's really come down to. Mays came into the superintendent's office and said, what are they going to do if they think it's my phone? And there's also testimony with his wife that's going to be really critical in this case when the jury is going back there and deliberating like they are right now for 2 hours. There was also testimony from the girls who found this phone. So it was really just throughout this week, there was a lot of key witnesses. And if the jury's really just got to decide, who do you believe in this case? Because on one hand, you've got the story was like, well, I was just, protecting these people, but the facts seem to just line up almost too much. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree with you. Just to kind of set more information here. So Maze is accused, of course, of messing with the video that was there. But what all started this was a phone, a cell phone that was found in the girls'
Mhm.
locker room. The
Yeah.
team that he coaches, the girls brought the phone to the coach and another official saying, hey, we found this. And that's when all this started and kind of unfolded from
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, Hannah, because you would think when you read the headlines in this case that there's going to be some kind of a child endangerment or something, some kind of charge of
Yes.
that nature, but that's not what happened in this. That's not what this case is. And unfortunately, it's because that video was deleted. And now we'll see what happens with the jury. And you can make arguments, moral arguments, should that video have been deleted or not. But no matter what happened, there was evidence deleted.
Hmm.
And you can make the moral argument what I said, but maybe if it wasn't deleted, we'd have a different case. We might have found out more about what happened. But here we are, and this is a totally different case and a totally different set of circumstances because of what happened. So if you read the headline in this case and you're wondering why the charges are different, that's why.
Can you tell us more about the situation involving the break-in regarding
Mm.
the second charge one more time to really kind of
Yeah,
break down why
yeah,
this? Okay.
yeah. So, like I said, there's two charges, and then prosecutors are alleging that 2 days later, he broke into the LaPoynter ISD superintendent's building, the administration building they have there. It's a small building, and came in and stole the phone. And prosecutors basically alleged that number one, he's on video, and they basically looked and just his figure, and they made the argument that he's the only one that could have broken in because all the other people they brought them up to the stand. They said, "Could you have kicked in that door?" No, because there's a couple of smaller people. I'll say that this person, could you have kicked that door in? No. And also, he was only one of four people that actually knew where the phone was at that time. So who else had a motive to come in and take that phone? So that's where the second charge comes in this case. Now, like I said, the jury will have to decide. I think my personal opinion, Hannah, is that that is the charge that the defense has a better case on, and that's
Gotcha.
just my personal opinion there. But I'm just giving that out there. But that's where that second charge comes from.
But there's also, witnesses to that happening and them
Mhm.
seeing it done.
Yeah.
And I know there's the argument there that he was doing this to protect the girls. Does the family
Mhm.
of the students and the teammates, do they feel that same way?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Hannah, I've been chatting with some people outside the courtroom, and I haven't talked to them in detail about the case. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of people here from both sides. There's people that are members of Maze's family. There's people from the team who testified earlier in the week who are here. So I'll tell you, there's a lot of people from both sides here. So I'm not going to go out and say how anyone feels about them, but I have been talking about them. Done. I've talked to people, and there's a lot of people waiting to hear how this case is going to pull out. Is what I'll say.
Okay, okay. Now, going back to the cell phone, is there any kind of say on who placed the phone in the girls' locker room
Mhm.
outside of him? Like, do they think it's anyone else?
Yeah, there was never any point in the investigation where police were
Okay.
like, "We have somebody else," and the defense actually pointed to that in their argument. There was never, and I'm loosely quoting the defense argument here. I don't have my notes on me. They said they took Jammie and kind of just ran with it. That's what the defense's argument was. Kind of, the defense the defense lawyer argument that we see a lot is that the police investigation was kind of just they took it and they ran with it. It wasn't thorough. But there was one interesting point that the defense brought up in their closing argument, and that the state rebutted, and I'll explain in a second, is that the timestamps on the video in the gym weren't correct because there was a power outage. Now, the state acknowledged that, and they said, yes, you're right, that did happen. But if you match up who's going in and who's going out in the witness testimony, it doesn't really matter. It all adds up anyway. So that kind of goes into the defense's argument, and I think the state did have a decent rebuttal for that. But that's how I would answer your question, yes.
Okay, okay. Is there any kind of timeline on how long these deliberations can go on?
I mean, Hannah, I've sat in deliberations that have gone over 2 days. I've
Yeah.
sat in deliberations that have gone 20 minutes. A case like this, where it's, a small town, you've got people from, a county like Henderson all trying to decide an issue that's, so in depth like this. I wouldn't be surprised personally with my own experience like this if it goes on longer. It hasn't surprised me that it's taken this long. So if it's taken this long, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes longer. But then again, I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone on the jury, obviously. But it doesn't surprise me that it's taken this long.
Okay. Well, of course, we'll be looking for updates on this story, and I know you will be covering more about this. When can we hear more?
Yeah, well, you're obviously going to hear later more on all of our newscasts at 5 and 6 o'clock, and anything coming out of this courtroom, you'll be the first to hear about it from me.
Well, thank you so much, JD. We appreciate it, of course, giving
Absolutely.
us just a little bit of update as deliberations continue. We appreciate it. Thank you.